Hey parents, let's talk about how mentoring works in the parenting years. Now, we're talking about using the resources at pursuegod.org. So if you're not familiar with what we call mentoring and how it works using our resources, make sure you check out some of those resources below this video, and you can learn about the flex method and mentoring and all of that stuff. It's very specific what we're talking about. We're talking about being very intentional, sort of having weekly intentional conversations with your kids. That's what we call mentoring. And again, our conversation library is set up to help you to do that with kids, with youth, with adults, with everybody. So check out those resources if you need to learn more about it. But the question we're asking is, who should mentor as your kids get older? And we're going to break our kids into these sort of 3 age ranges. And it might sort of vary a little bit depending on your kids and their maturity and that sort of thing. But basically, you've sort of got the 3 to 9 years where you're mentoring those younger kids, kind of grade school age. Then you've got the 9 to 12 years as they get just a little bit older and start sort of heading into junior high. And then you've got the 12 to 18-year-olds. Okay, so here's how we like to break this down. First of all, parents, you're the mentors of your kids for those first years. So what we encourage you to do is use those kids resources at pursuegod.org on a regular basis. Establish the habit, the pattern of intentional conversations with your kids. So what we really recommend is maybe using those videos, watch the videos in family time with your kids, establish that habit in your life. So what's happening then, parents, is you're establishing a groundwork for your kids to understand a biblical worldview, but also to understand how to use those resources. It's fun, it's simple. As they get a little bit older, you can let them lead those discussion times more and more. So you're helping them not just to hear biblical worldview from your teaching and your mentoring and leadership, but you're really helping them to begin to articulate it for themselves. And that's what our resources help you to do. So parents, you're the main mentors in that early stage. Now, when the kids get a little bit older, parents, you're still the mentors. So you're never going to sort of stop being a mentor as your kids are growing up in these parenting years. But what you're going to want to do now, parents, is identify a mentor for your kids. Hopefully, maybe at church, maybe an older sibling, maybe another Christian kid that's a few years older that you trust. And here's the trick is you're going to ask them to mentor your kid, to sort of come into your kid's life when they're 9, 10, somewhere in that age. And you're going to say, hey, would you just, kind of have a regular sort of weekly or monthly time where you get with my kid, maybe a couple of other kids are involved in this mentoring group, and they're using the exact same resources that you're using. They're using the Pursue God library so that you know that the resources that they're using are trustworthy, and you're inviting this mentor, again, someone who's just a little bit older. You can learn more about that in the resources below. Maybe you even bring that mentor through mentor training so they know exactly how to use the resources. Now, if your church already uses the Pursue God resources, hopefully you've got mentors aplenty. Maybe your pastor can even help you connect your kid to a mentor. But what's important here is, parents, you are still the spiritual leader for your kid, but you've invited, and you've been proactive about this, you've invited another mentor, a student a couple years older, to enter into your kid's life and to really begin to affirm some of the things you've been speaking so that your kids begin to see that it's not just mom and dad that believe these things. There's another kid who's a little bit older. Maybe, hopefully your kids can respect this kid, and a great mentoring relationship can be developed in those years, in those 9 to 12 years. And then what happens in those 12 to 18 years is you notice your parents, you're still a mentor, but again, your role shifts as your kids get older. They get into junior high and high school, your role shifts, and you really need to make sure that that mentor is still involved. Maybe it might be another mentor in their life as they grow older. I mean, that's something that you can pray about and develop. But they've got that mentor still pouring into their life on a regular basis. Again, it's helping your kids to be strong in their faith and in their convictions. It's sort of counterbalancing some of the other influences that they have over the years. But notice this third thing is then your kid becomes a mentor. Okay, so maybe you look at your kid right now and you say, there's no way my kid could be a mentor. But look at this chart. If you've really, from 3 to 9 years of age and then 9 to 12 years of age, by the time they're 12 to 18, this is just a normal thing. They know how the resources work. They know they've really sort of grasped a biblical worldview. So the goal here is that this is really how mentoring works in the parenting years, is that over the years, as you've raised your kids, you've taught them the importance of digging into the Word, into the Bible for themselves. You've taught them the importance of mentoring. And now one of the most natural things that they can do is become a mentor, so that they're beginning to help now kids that are younger than them. And don't sort of diminish the importance of this step. The way we grow, if you've taken Foundations, hopefully you've taken Foundations in our series. The way we grow, Foundations truth number 3, is by helping others. And what we mean really ultimately by that is by mentoring others. Parents, if you can help your kids get to the point where they're not just being mentored by you and someone else, but now you're encouraging them to be a mentor. Again, using the resources that we have online, it's all the same thing. It's super simple. And you teach them to be a mentor. What you're going to do is you're going to give your kids the tools and the gifts and the opportunity to really embrace a biblical worldview for themselves, to be a leader in the world, not to just sort of be tossed about by whatever everybody says in their culture, but now they've got their own biblical convictions. And now as they grow up and as they get out of the house and go to college and go on to their careers, you've not just taught them how to think biblically, but you've taught them how to be a leader and to allow this to continue on for generations to come. So that's how mentoring works in the parenting years. Now go ahead and use those resources below to talk about this with your own mentor or with your family or in your small group.